Okay, so today we're going to dive into this simple little German phrase. Just 4 words, but it's had this absolutely wild ride through the art world. You won't believe where it ends up. So here it is. Jeder Mensch ist Kunst. It means every human is art. And this idea comes from the 20th century German artist Joseph Beuys. I mean, think about that for a second. It's this beautiful, totally democratic, really empowering idea, right? But here's the twist. What happens when an idea like that gets, well, twisted? What happens when it's made of actual flesh and then sold on a t-shirt? Yeah, this is where the story gets bizarre, a little unsettling, and eventually commercial. All right, let's back up. Where did this all start? It began with an idea that was, for its time, completely radical. This wasn't just some catchy slogan. No, it was a full-on challenge to the entire art establishment. The whole point was that art shouldn't be locked away in museums for rich people to look at. It should be part of our everyday lives, something that everyone can create. And the guy championing this idea, the man in the hat, that was Joseph Beuys, an artist famous for his signature felt hat and some really, really groundbreaking concepts. Beuys called his big idea social sculpture. For him, art wasn't a painting on a wall. Nope, it was a process, a conversation, a debate, even just teaching someone something. If it creatively shaped society, bam, that was art. In his world, we're all sculptors, and the clay we're working with is society itself. Pretty cool, huh? Okay, but here's where things start to change. After Beuys, this really powerful idea, well, it started to morph. A tiny little tweak in the wording led to a huge, huge shift in what it all meant. And this right here, this is the key. You got to get this. Beuys originally said, every human is an artist. See? An artist, a creator, someone who makes things happen. But later on, people changed it. They started saying every human is an artwork. It sounds similar, but it completely flips the whole thing on its head. Suddenly, you're not the one making the art anymore. You are the art. An object, something to be looked at, admired, and yeah, you guessed it, sold. And this is where the story gets, well, pretty visceral. An art collective called the Joblin Factory grabbed this new interpretation, every human is an artwork, and just ran with it. And the material they used to explore this idea? Oh, just one of the most provocative things you can imagine, fish flesh. So they started making things like this, a telephone, but it's made of preserved salmon. It's an object you know, but seeing it like this is, well, it's totally strange, really unsettling. They didn't stop there. They even took on secret symbols, like this cross. It forces you to smash together these spiritual ideas with this raw, biological, fleshy reality. In this piece here, they call it the dancer. This is kind of the logical endpoint, isn't it? It's the human form itself, but it's been reduced to just flesh. It's a really stark, kind of disturbing picture of what it means for humanity to be an organic work of art. But hold on, because the journey for this idea isn't over. It doesn't just stop in a high-concept art gallery. Oh no. Its next, and maybe its final stop, is the online gift shop. Okay, look at this. On the left, you've got this original, super provocative piece of art called Bulimia. And on the right, the Bulimia flesh clock, and a shower curtain that you can actually buy. I mean, a shocking artistic statement has literally become home decor. And you see the pattern again and again. Here's an abstract sculpture made of meat on the left, and on the right, it's become a design for tote bags and backpacks. The challenging, difficult art just gets flattened into a cool-looking texture, totally stripped of its original meaning. And the scale of this whole thing is just, it's staggering. You can get this flesh art texture printed on pretty much anything you can think of. T-shirts, hoodies, clocks, bags, mugs, phone cases, you name it. So it started out as this utopian philosophy about creativity. It's been completely and totally commodified. Which, of course, brings this whole wild journey right back around and puts the spotlight directly on you. So the artist's final move is this piece right here. It's just a simple, fancy frame with a mirror inside. So when you look at it, you don't see a painting, you see your own reflection. The caption lays it all out. This work forces you to see yourself as the art. In this exhibition, you are the final piece. And they're not kidding around with this. They actually drafted a whole set of art rights. They call them Kunstrechte, that sound a lot like constitutional law. You've got things like
the dignity of the human as art is inviolable? It's kind of a fascinating question, right? If we really accept that we're all works of art, what kind of fundamental rights should we have?
And that brings us to the final, really provocative thought. We followed this idea all the way from a beautiful philosophy about universal creativity to being reinterpreted as an object made of flesh, all the way to becoming a pattern on a shower curtain. So, if we follow that logic to its final conclusion, if you are a work of art, in a world where literally everything is for sale, who gets to set your price?